I commend the Falcons for taking Michael Penix Jr. I think it's the right move. Let me defend them. Let's quickly switch gears and go into a different universe. Let's pretend in a different life, I'm not a sports talk host. I am instead a fortune teller. And you come to me and you say, Ryan, 5 years from now, please, can you tell me if my team is a franchise quarterback or not? Now I'm looking through my crystal ball. I'm reading my tarot cards. I'm really working and looking. And I tell you, you know what? 5 years from now, yes, you do have a franchise quarterback. You have a guy you believe in. If I tell you that news, I doubt the first question you ask me after hearing that news is, well, how do we get him? What was the process of getting that franchise quarterback? That's not a question you're asking me. You're excited of, oh, wow, we got a franchise quarterback. Let's go. Let's celebrate. Our future is bright. With that in mind, as you go back to reality, that's why, at least for me, that's how I view what the Falcons did and why I don't understand the criticism towards them for what they did. The Falcons, in drafting Michael Penix Jr. number 8, here's what they did. They got themselves the second best quarterback in this draft class. They got themselves that I think 5 years from now can be considered a franchise quarterback and will be considered one of the best quarterbacks in the league. And so the process was wonky, yes, but I think we're talking about 5 years from now, the Falcons having their franchise quarterback in Michael Penix Jr. Why is that a negative? Right? It's so hard to find franchise quarterbacks. So many teams cycle through and struggle and swing and miss in trying to get a guy they believe in. The Falcons, I think, just got the next guy for them, their next franchise quarterback. Why are we acting like this is the worst idea we've ever seen? I think what they did makes a lot of sense because at the end of the day, all that matters is you have a franchise guy, right? Doesn't matter if you get them via trade, in the draft, free agency. As long as you have a franchise quarterback, that's all that matters. Because there's not that many of them around. And so, yes, I'm not going to sit here and tell you the process the Falcons pulled off was perfect. It was definitely flawed. But I think the end result matters more than the process. And right now, when you look at the end result, I think the Falcons got themselves a franchise quarterback. That's why I don't think it's the wrong move whatsoever. I don't think it should be criticized. I think it's honestly smart what they did. They got a guy that they truly believed in, but also I think is legit. He truly is the second best quarterback in this draft class. Go watch him at any point the last 2 years at Washington. He is legit. He's the guy that raises his game to the big moment. And that is important because what you have now in Kirk Cousins, right? He can only get you so far. He's limited. He's getting older. He's not going to be there a long time. He's coming off an Achilles injury. I think at least for 2024, the Falcons are a playoff team with Kirk at the helm. Not a threat to do anything come playoff time, but a playoff team. And so if you're the Falcons, are you just okay then with just being a playoff team, or don't you want to try to get a guy that you think can get you beyond that to be a real threat in the NFC and have a real chance to win a Super Bowl? That's what I think Michael Penix Jr. is. He's the guy that can get you over the edge. And so I've heard this comp a lot, right? The Falcons are doing what the Packers did, the Packers model. When they had Brett Favre and they drafted Aaron Rodgers. Then when they had Aaron Rodgers, they drafted Jordan Love. Sure, they're doing something kind of similar, but here's what I would equate it to a different team and a different system. I think it's more what the Chiefs did, right? The Chiefs before they had Patrick Mahomes, had Alex Smith. And Alex Smith was a guy that was a good quarterback. He got you to the playoffs every year. I mean, Andy Reid with Alex Smith, they went to the postseason every single year in Kansas City. Chiefs are not satisfied in just getting to the playoffs. They said, we got to make a move to get ourselves a QB that can get us over the top, aka, as we know now, Patrick Mahomes draft. That, to me, is exactly what the Falcons did. I understand that Kirk has not been there like Alex Smith was in Kansas City, and you kind of saw that pain year after year after year. But we also know what Kirk is. We saw him in Washington, now we saw him in Minnesota. He is who he is. He's a guy that's good enough in the regular season to get you to the playoffs each and every year. But come playoff time, he does choke. He's not a guy you can rely on. He doesn't raise his play to the biggest moments when you need your quarterback to really ball out and have a big game. That's not Kirk. So the Falcons knew that signing him, and now they identified a guy in the draft that they think can be even better, that can get them to a place that Kirk can't. That's why I don't have a problem with the draft pick whatsoever. Sure, he might sit for a year or two, but I think if we're talking about 5 years from now, this working out and the Falcons having a franchise quarterback that can truly have them being a threat in the NFC, it's a win. It's so hard to get a franchise quarterback. That is a win. I mean, look at other teams that have gotten their franchise quarterbacks, we'll say, by different means than usual, which is, let's say, tanking and getting a high quarterback in the draft. Look at the 49ers. Do you think they're still upset about trading 3 first-round picks for Trey Lance? No, I don't think so, because they have themselves Brock Purdy, Mr. Irrelevant. They found the quarterback. They found the franchise guy that they believe in. Wasn't by the way they planned, right? It wasn't the way they thought it was going to work out, but it worked out, so all is forgiven. Packers, to go back to them for a second here, I mean, there's a lot of drama with Aaron Rodgers and his future after he drafted Jordan Love in the first round. Do you think the Packers regret that drama? Regret the headache that they caused themselves by drafting Jordan Love in the first round? Think they regret that now? No, because Jordan Love, after last year, looks like another franchise quarterback. Looks like you're going to go from Favre to Rodgers to Love. So not every team has a perfect process to get a franchise quarterback. And I don't honestly think process matters. Like, this is not like a homework assignment in 10th grade where you're asked to show your work. Right? Remember that? That, for me, was the worst. Had it like in geometry in high school where it's like, here's the problem. We not only need your answer, you need to show how you got to the answer. And then you get graded based on the process. This is not like getting a franchise quarterback is not a math test. You don't get graded on the process. As long as the result at the end of everything is you have a franchise guy, everything else is forgiven. Nothing else matters. And so, yeah, it's a little awkward right now for the Falcons to have Kirk Cousins come in on a big deal and then all of a sudden with the number 8 overall pick, take a quarterback out of nowhere. But I think it's going to work out. I think Penix is the real deal. Second best quarterback behind Caleb Williams in this draft class. I think both are going to progress very quickly here to be two of the better quarterbacks in the league. In Penix's case, whenever he does get on the field. And part of my bullishness in Penix is the fact that the team around him is good. Right? Like, you look at his skill set. He's a talented quarterback, but also he needs help. Like, he had a loaded roster at Washington in his 2 years there. Part of the reason why he was so good. Now you look at what the Falcons have. You have Bijan Robinson, one of the most dynamic all-around running backs that now that I think that Arthur Smith is gone, is finally going to be used the proper way he should have been used last year. I trust Zach Robinson, new offense coordinator coming off the McVay tree, to use Bijan totally different and a lot more than last year. So you have him at running back, dynamic talent. You have Drake London at receiver, dynamic talent. We'll see what Michael with Kyle Pitts going forward. Still some talent there. Obviously not worked out so far the way Atlanta has intended. They did pick up his 5th-year option, so he'll at least be here for the next few years. But there's talent on that roster right now where if you put Michael Penix Jr. in a year, 2 years, 3 years from now, I think he's going to come and hit the ground running and flourish and have a lot of success. And so if you're the Falcons, yes, it was a backwards process. It wasn't pretty, and you upset your quarterback in the making, Kirk Cousins. But what matters is, did you get the pick right? Did you get one of the quarterbacks that will pan out to be one of the best in the league 5-10 years from now? I think if you're the Falcons, you can say that answer is yes. That's why I think it's a good pick. And that's why everything else to me is irrelevant. As long as the quarterback at the end works out, you are a winner. So if you're the Falcons, I would not apologize for what happened. I think you got yourself a franchise quarterback in Michael Penix Jr. I think he is going to develop into being one of the best QBs in the league going forward here. Ride out the awkwardness for a year or two. And when Kirk inevitably gets you to the playoffs and then can't win a playoff game and you move on next year, 2 years from now, get ready for Michael Penix Jr. I promise you, Falcons fans, you won't regret it.